Hello, this is Bill Clodsey. Welcome to a Guilds of Ravnica draft. We start here with Bounty of Might, which is +3/+3 on any of 3 instances, so could target all the same creature. Pretty much this can be a finisher, you know, a 9 damage lava axe or something like that. So I'm going to start with that here. I have found most of the guilds are pretty good. So we want to start with powerful cards and then keep ourselves open to whatever is open. The common creatures, the filler creatures, there's a lot of them. They're all more or less replaceable. Some prefer to be in one guild or another, but you want to make sure you get at least you know, some powerful top end. We can follow up here with Indrik. Normally this will be a 2-for-1. It's another expensive card, but you know, there's Plague Crafter and some other stuff, but I do like following up our bounty with this Indrik. Citywide Bust. This is kind of a Wrath effect, but generally it won't be good against every deck. I do like Street Riot, although I mean, this is kind of your Boros finisher if you go wide, maybe better in some kind of Naya deck. As for my preference, you know, Selesnya versus Golgari, black-green, it's kind of just the cards you get that are good. So what to pick here? We could take an early filler creature like Burglar Rat if we expect to go into Golgari. Certainly we can't really go into a non-supported guild like Simic or Gruul. Or we could take this Rhizome Lurcher as, you know, some kind of payoff for going into Golgari, and I kind of like that. This is pretty bad to play early, but if you play a few of these early Burglar Rats and just creatures with some kind of advantage, they go to the graveyard. Even casting this as a 4/4 is pretty good. Deadly Visit. Well, that seems to be the direction we're going here, into Golgari, and this is a pretty nice one for that deck. Surveil, sometimes you'll just put some random creatures into the graveyard to power up your next Undergrowth play, so I don't mind that. I'm a big fan of Thought Erasure in this format. It rarely misses, and if they just have 0 cards in their hand, you're in bad shape, but sometimes you have a discard outlet or can surveil it away. And you'll always get to surveil one, so that can power up some of the Dimir surveil payoffs. Sinister Sabotage, one of the better counterspells in the format. Here we want Burglar Rat. We want to get a lot of these little creatures that maybe aren't very big and can trade off easily, but also get some advantage while they're at it in this deck. Now, not much left in this pack. We could branch into Dimir for the campaign, but that really rewards getting multiple surveil payoffs. Or we could just take Portcullis Vine. It doesn't look like much, but eventually you're going to sack this and draw a card, and sometimes you just need to gum up the ground early, so not a terrible one. Another Disappearance. I quite like this card. It can clear the way for your Dimir creatures and power them up with the surveil, and you get to surveil, so it's an upside to just bouncing a creature, even if you don't have a specific payoff for it. But there are a few creatures that just get bigger whenever you surveil, so that's kind of a nice payoff there. Recluse, I like that. Maybe as a 1 of or 2 of in a Golgari deck. Dissident is fine, but let's grab the mana fixing here. A little more important than the filler creatures. Here's one of those surveil payoffs. Every time you surveil, this gets bigger. It already is a 2/2, but the drawback is it just can't attack until it has 3 1/1 counters on it. So you need to surveil 3 times, basically. Tough one here between Deadweight and Generous Stray and Spinal Centipede, but I'm going to take this tough one between the Stray and the Centipede. I'm going to take the Generous Stray. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's the kind of style of deck I want to get into here. Bartizan Bats, this is not the 4-drop I want in this deck, but it is worth cutting, starting to cut some black here. Here's another one where if you play that bounce spell, you can clear the way for the agent, and when it hits, you draw a card. That turn, because you've surveilled with the bounce spell, a pretty good one. It doesn't look like we're getting in there. Deadly Visit's another good way to do that. However, if we did want to splash some powerful blue or Dimir card, we could off of this Guildgate, so I'll grab that here. Ooh, Vine versus Golgari Guildgate. The second Guildgate. How important is that? I do think it's a bit better than the Vine. I don't want too many of these walls, so I'll grab the gate. This is another pretty bad wall. It gets better if you have a bunch of Portcullis Vines, but I just don't see the payoff here. So I'll grab Never Happened. This is a nice discard spell, because even if their hand is empty, at least you get something from their graveyard, which could be a creature to help their undergrowth. It could be a spell to help their jumpstart deck. Yeah, Vicious Rumors, just because I don't see going into blue, and some other stuff. Pack 2. Artful Takedown. This card is amazing. Probably worth splashing for. And the other flashy card is this Response and Resurgence, which gives an extra combat phase in your turn. Maybe the Takedown could be splashable in some kind of deck like this. We'll get more cards like Generous Stray and Pitiless Gorgon. I would take the Stray over the Gorgon here. I think I'm going to go the Takedown. Even if we don't end up in blue at all, by the end of this, that's only because we found enough great cards to support our 2-color deck. So a bit of a risk there, but hopefully it pays off. More good red cards. Crater Maker, Command the Storm is fine. Street Riot, I do think that's good if you're aggressive and making tokens like with the Marshal and such things. Siege Worm, pretty good payoff, and Dimir Guildgate. You have to balance your decks, especially your Golgari decks, to make sure you get enough top end and enough early interaction, and that balance is kind of hard to perfect, but we'll try to get close. I don't really want Never Happened. I will take Siege Worm though. That is a strong play. Rewarded for cutting Golgari in Pack 1. This is one of the best cards in this set. Just instant speed, 4 mana removal with upside, because it also hits enchantments, artifacts, and acts as an early pump spell. Even better than Artful Takedown, although that's, you know, that might even be close. Yep, that's easy pick there. Another Affectionate Indrik. Sure. Hopefully we can get up to 6 mana, because that's pretty good. The Cyclops is kind of fun. This doesn't kill everything, but some of the more annoying things it at least trades with. Bounty. And if you have some extra mana to keep a pump spell up, then it can even hit bigger things. Although that's not why you're playing it. 9 mana for the 7/5 Convoke Hexproof. This might be better if it had some other ability, or there were good auras to put on it, but it doesn't seem to be the case. The Gatekeeper Gargoyle, we have 3 gates so far. When it's a 6 mana 4/4, that's solid. We already have good 6-drops, so maybe, well, Radical Idea, Vicious Rumors, I'll take it here over Portcullis Vine. And maybe something comes of it. Another Rhizome Lurcher. I don't want this Selesnya Guildgate, because that's the color we're least likely to splash here. Well, besides red. I'll take the Lurcher. And now it's really time to prioritize some early creatures that can trade off, like this Child of Night. Better than it was in M19, that's for sure. Whisper Agent, or another Child of Night, or Iron Shell Beetle. Might be close between all of these options. This is a little heavy black, Whisper Agent. The Beetle doesn't have anything great to pump early. And the Child of Night hits pretty hard and is pretty good. We could mix it up though. I'll take the Beetle here. We'll be pretty even between green and black early, and sometimes it'll just come down super late and pump your Indrik to attack through a 5/5 or something. So maybe some upside there. Our colors have run out. Our most likely splash again is blue, so maybe Selective Snare can do something. Probably not. Where are you, copy? Sure, and Spinal Centipede comes back. That's a good sign. I wasn't sure if that was better or worse than the Stray, but I definitely want both. If possible. Creeping Chill. This is a Surveil bonus where putting it into your graveyard from your deck casts it, which is kind of cool, but not really worth a card's value. Then we have Severed Strands. This is the deck that really rewards that. Sometimes your opponent will lock down a creature and you can sacrifice that, or you sacrifice some tiny 1/1 and it might already be obsolete at that point. Dowser, good size of a creature. Now in this deck we should have bigger and better creatures just because of Undergrowth, but it's not embarrassing to play a Dowser of Lights. Beacon Bolt, I like this card in the late game of some Izzet build. Expansion Explosion, again pretty late game card if you are trying that deck, which is pretty fun, and some other stuff. So looks like I'm going to grab another Guildgate. It does power up our Gargoyle, it keeps our mana pretty consistent, and the other option here is maybe Pax Favor, but I'd rather put more creatures in the deck. Speaking of more creatures, here's Hired Poisoner and Erstwhile Trooper. The Poisoner is one of those things that can trade up and just gum up the ground until you can build up a better board. So what about Erstwhile Trooper? This card's been a little underwhelming. It's kind of annoying to play against, but you know, generally you don't have too many extra creatures to discard, so grab something a little more consistent. Shieldmate, always worth considering in a green deck, 2/2 Vigilance. Then there's Crushing Canopy and Pitiless Gorgon. Yeah. I don't want a second blue card right now, and the blue cards in this pack aren't amazing on the splash, so I'll grab the Gorgon. Alright, a lot of good cards in this pack. We've got Murmuring Mystic, where all your spells give you birds. This is a good build around. It's good in Grixis Control, it's good in Izzet, it's good in Dimir, and it's a 1/5, so that really is a nice body to block. Swarm Guildmage, that's probably the pick here. The Menace can be a nice finisher, the life is fine in a board stall, and we're picking it over Artful Takedown, but we want to, you know, more creatures in the early game anyway. So let's grab that. Plague Crafter. This is the best home for a Plague Crafter. You're going to have to sacrifice something, usually a 1/1, and they'll have to sacrifice something which might be a little better. But then you get a 3/2 on the board, so it's a solid card. Golgari loves trading off things in the early game, and this forces the issue. Nothing much left in this pack. Maybe we have another Gate, or maybe we have Wary Okapi. Leave it to Wizards to find some obscure animal I've never heard of. And at this point, I think it's a coin flip of whether an Okapi is a real thing, but I would tend to think it is. Some kind of like zebra antelope by the looks of it. You'll see most of the cards in this deck are creatures, and that's kind of the way you want it. We have a couple removal spells, Artful Takedown, Status to Statue, Visit, and so forth. We are a little light on the payoffs. Here we go. Here's a good one. Vigor Spore Worm. Give something +X/+X in Vigilance, which is a nice touch, especially if you're putting it on an evasive creature or a lifelink creature. That can really turn the tides. So that's a nice card to pick up here. And it probably replaces Dowser of Lights. What next? Erstwhile Trooper to upgrade Wary Okapi. Centipede. I think at this point we can cut Takedown, just so we don't have to mess up our mana, and our game plan will be solid enough without it. We have enough playables here. Bartizan Bats, we already have one committed to the sideboard, so there's no card we need especially here. Maybe we play Wand of the Vertebrae. It doesn't seem like quite enough payoff for this deck, but you know, getting a bunch of undergrowth ahead of time is kind of the idea here, I guess. Take the Bats in case it's really good against some kind of deck. Guildgate, Crushing Canopy, a fine sideboard card. Almost main deckable, certainly main deckable in Sealed, where flyers are an issue, but also the random enchantment could get you. Golgari Locket. Pause is a Fog. It's always some kind of a sideboard card, possibly against a, you know, a one-turn win effect. An overrun effect, Trumpet Blast, things like that. Or, better yet, against that take an extra turn card, but lose at the end of it. Just fog them. That's about right. At this point we put in Bartizan Bats, and that gives us an evasive creature for the pump on Vigor Spore Worm. And Bounty of Might, for that matter. Just 9 extra damage before they expect it. 17 lands looks about right. That is still something I don't quite have figured out in this format, is like how many lands every deck should be playing. Some decks want 18, the control decks that can, you know, get rid of all their extra lands. And some decks want 15, the really hyper-aggressive 1-drop and 2-drop Boros decks. And everything in between. But this is kind of a mid-range deck. We are looking to get to 6 mana without much of that being Convoke. Golgari Locket, maybe that's not exactly what we want. I don't want to splash this Takedown, well I kind of do, but I don't think that'll be super consistent. Dowser of Lights. Okay, the creatures look good. A lot of our early stuff can trade off, and then our late game should be able to lock things up. As for mana balance, it's just going to be right down the middle and adding our 3 gates. You wouldn't really need 3 gates in a deck like this, but it does help out the Gargoyle. Potentially you could do 16 lands, but 17 ought to do it. Now, what are the other options? Dowser of Lights could be a good card. Crushing Canopy, I'm fine with that in the sideboard. The Never Happened, that's a card that might want to come in here, but of course we want to maximize the number of creatures we're playing, so for now I'm happy leaving that in the sideboard as well. Hopefully this is pretty close to correct and we can win some matches. Round 1 versus Initial Draft, choosing to play first. This hand looks okay as a start. We're on the draw, we should be able to get to our 3rd land, and that'll give us an extra shot at a 4th. Dimir. Well, there's our first land already, and it's the right color. Grixis Control. That is a fun deck to play. Now we have the option of playing a 2/2 Beetle or the Swarm Guildmage. And we have more options here if we do the Swarm Guildmage. It's a better creature than the Beetle, but it's possible that we want to just get more damage in this turn and attack with a 3/3 Guildmage. It could get bounced or something like that, and that's not great. So maybe we'll delay that and just play the Generous Stray this turn. We lose 1 damage for the next couple turns, but I don't want to make ourselves too vulnerable to something like that. And later in the game we can just hold this back if it doesn't die. Oh, they are not letting us do damage with it this turn anyway. Dazzling Lights is a funny one. It's a pretty good combat trick to win combat, especially if you're playing a few Death Touch creatures, and it's also an instant way for 1 mana to pump your Dimir payoff cards. So I'm guessing that's what we're up against here. Nice, hitting the land right away. We've got both of these Lurchers, which are just 4 mana 2/2s. Now we're kind of incentivized to trade off if we can. What to do? Well, a good start would be having them discard a card. And then I don't mind putting a counter on the Generous Stray. They discard another land, so surveilling away 2 lands. The Dazzling Lights does surveil 2. That's... I mean, here it looks like drawing 2 cards almost. So this is our Artful Takedown, I would guess. So they take 0 damage this turn. And depending on the size of their creatures, I bet they kill the Guildmage and tap the Stray. Maybe it's something else, but it is Artful Takedown. They're killing the Guildmage, tapping the Stray. And they're at 20 life still on our turn 4. So not bad for them. But the upside is we have a creature in our graveyard. We're about to have another creature in our graveyard if they have the flash 3/2. But we're certainly not sure that's what they have. Yeah, we could play a 3/3 here or a Child of Night. I'm going to go with the Child of Night. I hope we can trade off some more and have these Lurchers for the late game. It's also possible they have some counter magic for the Lurcher. Disappearance on our end step. Cool. It gets them another Surveil. They Surveil to the top. And it buys them a little time. Here's Crackling Drake. This is a scary creature. And it's pretty important that we resolve Deadly Visit, or at least draw a land for a couple turns in a row. Now there's no guarantee we resolve it. It may have been that they were holding up Disdainful Stroke. Ah, we get it. That's great. Spinal Centipede. Let's put that in the graveyard and top the swamp. So if they have another Crackling Drake, we have another crack at it. 4. It's not that we really don't want the Centipede, it's just that it helps power up both our Lurchers. We kind of don't want it. Chamber Sentry. That's a fun one. It does have to tap to shoot things, so this will be a good turn to try and fight it. There's another counterspell they could have here, the uncommon one. It looks like they do not. So we fight there. That's really good for us that that resolved. You know, sometimes your opponents have it all, but they don't always have it all. Sonic Assault to just take less damage. Yeah, funny combination here. Maybe they're trying to be more aggressive than controlling, or like a mix of both. And we can just hope that they don't find a reset button. Darkblade Agent. Yeah, this is the kind of card that makes Dazzling Lights very good because it gives it Death Touch. Anyway, I don't see a reason not to attack with everything. The best thing they could do is kill the Generous Stray for free. Well, I guess even better than that, they could kill the Indrik for free by using a Dazzling Lights. So it looks like they might have some instant surveil, or they just want to keep their creature around. Either way, get out a 4/4. They're at 4 life, so that's a good, you know, some good stats. The reset buttons aren't absolute. Some of them will kill all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less. Some do toughness 4 or more. Not that they would have that one, that's white, but it's very unlikely they kill all of our creatures. Some kill all the creatures with 1 toughness. So it looks like we're okay here. Yeah, they'll give game 1 to us. They have a flyer, a pretty good flyer at that, so I might bring in Crushing Canopy. They have that Artful Takedown, but it's beatable. It does buy them a lot of time, but it's beatable. You know what might be even better than Crushing Canopy against this? Never Happened. And we can take out... What can we take out? Possibly a land. Just take out a forest. And their deck will be pretty good against Portcullis Vine, so we can put in something else. I almost want Vicious Rumors. Veiled Shade. I'll bring in the Crushing Canopy. All of that has its use. Okay, so we took out 1 land, and now we don't quite have enough land. But we're on the draw. We have 2 land, and that 3rd land, almost no matter what it is going to help us get back into this game. Come on, Forest would be great. Electromancer's a nice play for that deck to make early. Chromatic Lantern, that helps out. An acceptable draw. We don't get our Never Happened this turn, but it is a source of green. See if they play the Drake here. No, it's black. Darkblade Agent. Oh boy. I kind of want to disrupt their hand here. If they have a source of scry and just 1, this might mess them up. They can't do much in response. Oh, check this out. They would have had Niv Mizzet Perun this next turn, which was completely unbeatable. This way, they'll have City Watch Sphinx, but let's exile that. It's also quite nice that it exiles it. Well, maybe not against this deck, but taking Jumpstart spells out of the graveyard or creatures out of the graveyard against a Golgari deck, it's both of those things are relevant. There's our City Watch Sphinx, which we knew about. So now we don't know about anything. And we're still in bad shape here, to be fair. They have one card in hand. We're just going to get rid of that while we can, because it's really unlikely they can hold up much for long. It could be a land, because they did play a land, but Sonic Assault. And then, most likely here, I'll block something and use status to kill it. We die pretty quickly to that. 5, 6, 7. Okay, so let's say we chump this. Then we draw land. And then we kill the Sphinx. That might be our best way to win. It's unfortunate. I mean, even that play gives them 2 surveils, but I don't see how to win. Pretty impossible to win. Oh, is it another? It's another one of these walking ballistas. That's so cool with Chromatic Lantern. Yeah, so now the game is just unwinnable. But next game will be on the play and back up to 17 lands. So that'll be nice. We know they have more flyers, so Crushing Canopy is a bit better. Never Happened is obviously a nice one. Strands is good. Centipede is fine. I don't like Erstwhile Trooper in this matchup. I would like another Never Happened. And we can take out one Affectionate Indrik. Because while that's pretty good, their deck isn't super creature based. So yeah, we'll play first here. We have lands, we have strands, and we are ready to go. Just like it never happened. Right, that's the plan. Play Never Happened. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that they get value out of this even, but nothing else to do here. Next turn we'll have a play, so I don't want to wait until turn 5 to do Never Happened. I can grab this Niv Mizzet again, because that's pretty impossible to beat if that ever comes down. And their lands are pretty good for it. Rude, they say. I know, isn't it? Well, what's rude is if they win anyway. Okay. I don't even know what this thing does. It's whenever any player plays an instant or sorcery, they draw a card. So we can't even kill it without them drawing a card and doing a damage to something. I haven't gotten a chance to play with that card yet, but it seems good. Bartizan Bats, and they have a way to bounce it, which seems like bad value to run that off now, but they avoid drawing a blue land, and they found a black land. That's pretty good for their Deadly Visit, so they can kill our mouse that's really getting them. Burglar Mouse. Well read too. He likes his books. He's got his yarn ball all there ready to go. And then we play the Mouse of the Sky, the Bartizan Bats. There's the Mountain, the Electromancer, and they have one unknown yet in their hand. Ooh, Crushing Canopy. Let's see what happens here. Could attack with the bats, or they could Sonic Assault by discarding, you know, some extra land they might have, which I doubt it. And then, is it important to kill the Electromancer? I guess it's not. Wait until we find a bigger threat. This could be the Sphinx this turn, and that's also a reason to, you know, just hold up the canopy and get past it. One unknown still. Destroy target creature with flying. They get to surveil too, which is a pain. But if we keep drawing well, any land gives us Deadly Visit, which could set up for Bounty of Might the next turn, putting them down to 10. So any creature that gets through becomes lethal with the bounty. Any creature with more than 0 power, that is. They discard or surveil away Informant and keep one on top. I guess that's where they have to put it. That could be a black source. We could get rid of the Deadly Visit for sure. I think that's kind of what we want to happen. They have Mountain in hand. And that Mountain is one they'll save for jumpstarting Sonic Assault. Or something like that. So I hope they drew a Swamp. I hope they left Swamp on top. That would be too much. No, just drawing more cards. Okay. Fine, fair enough. We're pretty cheap as well, and they have this Mountain to go ahead and draw 2 more. So it's possible I should have killed this Electromancer earlier. But then I wouldn't have killed the Sphinx exactly when I got to. Maybe they're just going to run it off here. No, they're playing a Chamber Sentry. Great, well, I know what to do with the Sentry. Just kill that right away. Hopefully with a Deadly Visit. If not, with this Severed Strands. Okay. Goodbye, Sentry. They can buy it back once they get 1 of each color of mana, which is basically only possible with their Lantern. Oh no, so now they draw a couple more cards with the Insight. Discarding Dimir Guildgate. They know they don't need the black. Playing blue, so one of their cards is still a Mountain in hand, unless I missed it, but I think this Mountain was from before. Alright, I imagine they have Artful Takedown. Doesn't quite matter, because none of our stuff affects anything pre-combat, except possibly Deadly Visit. It's really too bad we didn't have the... Oh, Hypothesizal. Oh, it's so bad we didn't have the 6th land here, because we would win through Hypothesizal. They're discarding Fire Urchin to do 4 damage here. Oh well. Oh, now what? Guild Mage or Deadly Visit? I'll start with the Guild Mage. The discount from the Electromancer has been pretty good, but it's not like they can storm off infinitely in Limited. And there are bigger things for us to kill. And getting a creature out means Vigor Spore Worm gets better this turn. Okay, Gateway Plaza coming in. They're getting closer to the one of each land type, but they need both green and white to really get there. That's not coming in. They could counter this, I guess that's fine. Spore Worm. They didn't counter much in game 1, so it's possible they just don't have much. It only pumps +2/+2, but it does let us attack. Artful Takedown finally. They'll kill the worm and tap the Guild Mage. That's what I predict. It is Artful Takedown. Artful Takedown is out of the way, and it pumps the Guild Mage by 3 because it'll see itself. Thief of Sanity, now that is a must answer. Too bad the Guild Mage can't easily give itself Menace, but... Oh, wait. What does this mean? Does this mean they're willing to block Swarm Guild Mage? It can't mean that, right? It can't mean that. All right, let's see what happens. They've got some trick up their sleeve. They could have the 1-mana trick. It's Sonic Assault. Okay. Sonic Assault, no problem. And that is gone forever. That was from their graveyard. So we'll use the Gargoyle. And hopefully this resolves, and that'll give us a couple ways to win next turn. A little scary not to just kill the Thief of Sanity, but this does block it. They're going to bounce it, and they're going to steal stuff from our deck. Hopefully not a green source. I guess they can't really do that. Do they still have this mountain in their hand? There's no way, right? This must be it. I was really curious. I could go back and check. Oh, that's really weird. Because if it is mountain, then we can win this turn with the Guild Mage. I might check. At the very least, let's go to combat. I'm gonna go for it. That's it, you know. Oh, thank goodness. Even the -3 doesn't do it. Yeah, I feel like their last card's the mountain. To check, you'd have to go back and look at the chat, which, you know, it's not a feature. But I'll see you in the next match. Round 2 versus Malevolent Gaming. And our opener looks perfectly playable. We've got a Poisoner, which can get in for some damage. The Child of Night will often make a nice life buffer. Another Izzet, or potentially... Jeskai's not so common, but Grixis is fairly common. And powerful. Still Izzet. Electromancer, we have good stuff against that. Don't mind attacking into it. I do mind using Severed Strands to deal with it. However, so that's going to come in. They just don't want to lose it. And we should have some good follow-up. Bartizan Bats. Bartizan Bats is very easy to kill, but it's also a lot of damage and something they pretty much have to kill. So I'll just cast it here. This could be a lot of different things. Yeah, so the insight into maybe the Beacon Bolt would be an easy way to deal with the bats. 2 mana. All because of this Electromancer. Or maybe it's the 5 damage spell or a big creature. Tough to predict exactly what this is. Ooh, the Crackling Drake. Just a 1/4 right now. They draw a card off it, which is really good. They're going to leave everything back. Fair. Yeah, so what do we do? Looks like we'll kill the Crackling Drake with the Poisoner and get in 1 less damage this turn, so we can have Pitiless Gorgon next turn. Attacking next turn, that is. Alright. Discard this. And they held back the Electromancer for a reason, possibly to block the Child of Night, which would be fine. I mean, it means more expensive cards to get back and so forth. Next turn could be a 4/4 Gatekeeper, or maybe even a Gate, or maybe a cheap creature that we can play. Okay, they draw 2, they discard another Insight, so we got the Gate. And they're back up to 7, but that used up their turn. We get them to 8. 8 cards, 8 life. So many creatures. Burglar Rat. Well, let's see how they respond to an attack first of all. Maybe we don't even get to attack. But it would be very nice if our Gargoyle did not get countered here. So let's see, they are trading off. And I will go for it. You know, at the very least, they can't flashback Chemister's Insight here, but it could easily get countered. Yeah, the Sinister Sabotage. Good card, good card. It's only a 1/1 though. Oh no, Legion Warboss. Looks like we're not long for this game. Even from 25 life, that card is going to be good. Did they also counter this? That's the question. If so, you can see they've stabilized and they've, you know, they completely have this game in the bag. So I wonder if it's worth even continuing. They'll kill us pretty quickly, so we'll see what else they're up to. They also took 4 of their best cards from their graveyard back into their deck to improve their draw quality. I like this card. It's a nice way to support a couple aggressive bombs like the Drake and the Legion Warboss. And any extra land they draw is just going to draw them 2 more cards, so... Did they find this immediately, or is this another copy? Who knows? Piston Fist Cyclops. Deadly Visit, not the worst card we could have drawn here. Let's kill that Warboss. We have a lot of things we need to answer, but that's certainly one of them. Both of these are bad enough that I'll just get rid of. Radical Idea. Another Radical Idea from the hand. Another Electromancer. Maybe they shuffled one back in. Yeah, I think that's what they did. Portcullis fine. That's not going to be good enough. So they killed us very quickly from that position. Good is it deck. Now, we can bring in Crushing Canopy. Never happened, because that gets rid of stuff. Bring in both of those. We don't need the Vine. Bartizan Bats looked good. Most of their stuff is just the 2 mana 2/2s. I still don't like the erstwhile Trooper. Plaguecrafter's fine. It's killing good stuff for the most part. Cenobite's fine. The Stray is fine. Pitiless Gorgon might not be so good. The Indrik is pretty good. Lurcher would have been a decent draw there at various points. They dealt with Gargoyle fairly easily. Maybe we just need something to come down earlier, because they have counter magic for the late game. That's a lot of lands that we're still playing. I'm tempted to play an earlier creature and take out a land. Like a green source here. Ah, that's scary to do. No, let's leave it like it is. Let's leave it like this, and then hoping it can resolve a few things if we can discard stuff from their hand. Yeah, good start. Burglar Rat, just maybe they discard something with Jumpstart, but it means one less time they can cast it, and we can start nibbling at their life total. Direct Current, sure. Radical. What shall we exile? Wonder if this player also has Niv Mizzet. No, pretty good substitute though in the Crackling Drake. League Guildmage, looks like they just can't put anything down here. Electromancer, Guildmage. Yeah, let's take out the Drake. I mean, that's one of the ways they can win these games. It's a really good blocker for the Bartizan Bats anyway, so yeah, here's the Guild Gate. Make sure we check off stuff when they cast it, or play it. Bartizan Bats. Get them to 18. And we'll have an answer to their first creature. Hopefully that's the Electromancer, I guess. Oh no, they're just going to run out Insight first of all. Taking even more damage. They find another mountain, so this could be both creatures or just something else. Another Drake. Ah, getting Direct Current back. You know, I wish they'd play a creature here. We have a nice answer to a creature. Ooh. Now that they've drawn so much, I really like Never Happened, but let's see what happens first. I could see them discarding another land to flashback Radical Idea. But I'm sure we'll get something good here. The worst hand to see would be these two things and a bunch of lands. Okay, we get a second copy of Crackling Drake, which is awesome. Goodbye, Crackling Drakes, and good riddance. Oh, we need to hit a few more times with this rat to get anything done. They discarded their second island, and this is their hand now. So they have Goblin Electromancer on the field, and League Guildmage on the field. And we kind of have answers to both. Let's see if they tap the rat. No, I guess they won't. Oh well. We've got to get rid of the Guildmage. We know what they have in hand, and it's just a Sonic Assault. And nice. Scry those away. Surveil them away. Out of the deck. And that's pretty neat, because if you go to shuffle your deck later, it does undo your scries to the bottom, but it doesn't do anything to your surveils to the graveyard. So surveil is really, you know, unless you're decking yourself, surveil is quite superior to scry. And most of the time. Alright, can we get that one damage in, or do they assault our poor rats? They deserve better. Oh, we're getting it in there. We are doing damage. I do expect they fire off Chemister's Insight here for cheap. I'm gonna wait until bigger threats for status. Heck, it's even another point of damage for the burn, so we're up to 11 if we can hit with this. It is the Insight, and they discarded the Assault. So we have no idea what they have. They overpaid for it because of the Electromancer. A common thing to do. Yeah, here we go. End step, all right. They're probably stocked up with counter magic. Let's see what happens. Rather, they countered this than our 9 damage burn spell. So counter surveil 1. That's an option. Ooh, devious cover-up. They don't have much of a good graveyard, but they'll get their League Guildmage shuffled back in. So that's pretty good. I mean, thank goodness we exiled these Crackling Drakes instead of just discarded them. Okay. Let us chomp in here, or did they want to Sonic Assault? I mean, what do they do? I'm happy if they tap out and, you know, they're at 11, because we do have the 10 points of pump here. Can we do it? We can't do it all in the same turn until we draw land, but it's the thought that counts. Mouse coming in. We got there. It took a while. That wasn't very many damage per second, that's for sure. Hypothesizzle. Wow. Just to draw 2. And they might, what do they just, they discard Piston Fist Cyclops, and they're going to target 4 damage at our poor mouse. Well, sometimes your Piston Fist Cyclops isn't as worth as much as your mouse. Sometimes. Now, I feel like we're on the back foot again. If this Guildmage gets to live, we might not. And it might get to live. See if this thing resolves. It's a good sign that we have that in play. Go to combat, and second main, I will try to statue the Guild Mage. I know they have one more counter spell, the counter scry one, the Sinister Sabotage, and yep, that means they can potentially draw a lot of cards off this Guild Mage this game. And that is not very exciting. And they even have the wave to kill our one creature. Ooh, Lurcher's good. Tell me they don't have another counterspell for this. If we keep drawing Lurchers off the top, we might even have a chance here. Another command the storm for exact. So we need to, I mean, yeah, this is not going well. If we draw another Rhizome Lurcher off the top, it'll be too big for Command the Storm. It'll block all their stuff. There's a lot of stuff we could draw here. Just a ton of card advantage from that deck, just really oppressive. There's a 6 damage uncounterable spell that kills us even from here. Hopefully they don't have that. It's an instant, so they can just save it if they really want to. They're not sure what to do. Okay, go to end step. Can't really dance around the issue here. We'll just play our Vigor Spore Worm and pump it up to itself. Maybe they'll bounce it, tap it. Ah, we're dead to the tap. Right. Even over tap for that. Gotta keep an eye on these jumpstart spells that your opponent plays early. Well, we lost to a good deck. Unfortunate result, but hey, thanks for watching and good luck in your drafts.